It's Marilyn Wilson here today with our Friday coffee chat. I know some of you are probably heading into Memorial Day weekend, so I thank you for coming and getting a little bit more of a great insight before you do that. And we've got some really good news for you today, so hold on, you're going to be happy with what Jack has to tell us. So we're going to talk today about how to learn how to capitalize on the pent-up demand. Jack Markham is from Zurple. He's been in the business for, I don't know, a lot of years, right, Jack?
A lot of years, too many to count.
Yeah, he's been through a few of these ups and downs with you guys, as have I. So, but he's got some really good news that I want you to see, and some great ideas about how to capitalize. So, before we get started, we love it when you guys ask questions. So feel free to jump in and ask us, anything in there. And I want to say good morning to some of our regulars. Philip is here, and Tim and Mary. You guys are awesome. I think you've been here just about as long as I've been. I think actually every day. It's been amazing. So thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate that. And let's just jump in. So as I mentioned, Jack is the general manager of Zurple. He worked with Market Leader for many years. He still actually, works a lot with that brand. And for some of you may have remembered or have worked with Market Leader. And Jack, were you at other companies even before then? Was that your first?
No, that was my first that was my first dip into real estate. So was the Market Leader, the run for the 7 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a great run, a great company, and still is actually. So let's just jump in. Everyone pay attention to this chart. I got to tell you, I was very, very happy to see this. Tell us what we're looking at here, Jack.
Yeah, so again, this is probably really exciting for most people to see, and I think you've heard it before, and I think having the visual makes it even better to see, right? So we've watched this, quite honestly, we watch this all the time, even before COVID, because it is part of our business with as many real estate agents as we touch as an organization, which is about 500,000 agents. The amount of leads that we generate from consumers to our clients is pretty heavy. So we look at consumer behavior and what consumers are doing often. And what you're looking at right here is homes for sale, the search and the keywords homes for sale, and just real estate category in general, the amount of traffic happening on search engines. And you can see the big dip when COVID really hit, the middle of March. However, what you start to see is this great uptick, and what we have seen is that the consumer is fully back. In fact, they're back above what they were at pre-COVID levels. And so what that means is there's this energy building up and in this industry that is just ready to explode. I think the great news for agents is we've heard this, right? I think we've heard several people say, well, this is probably what's going to happen. I mean, we're seeing it. These are real numbers, and numbers don't lie. And we're seeing the consumer interaction, the consumer searching with real estate, thinking about real estate is actually going above where it was heading into this, which is a great sign, which means this should be, if you think about the end of Q3, beginning of Q4, and all really throughout 2021, we should really explode in this industry. How you take advantage of it really determines, what actions agents take to really come on the other end of that. But it is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we just took whatever that downside was and we just added it to our normal upswing for this time of year, right? So like we didn't really lose it; it just got moved out about a month. Did you say? Can you guys hear me?
I mean, what if you start to play this out, what it looks like? I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you start to play this out a little bit going into 2021, what you'll find is that we're probably going to have one of the better Q4s that we've had in a long time. And I think you're absolutely right, Marilyn, is, typically this is the hot time of the year in real estate. Because you have this energy building up, what we're going to see is that's going to be moved more into the Q4 and really allow us to take off in 2021, right? And so I think understanding what consumers are starting to do, and maybe some agents are saying, well, they're not exactly moving off the fence. Maybe not, but it's the energy that's building up behind that. At some point, you are going to have sellers that are going to move off the fence. And that's going to unlock all this inventory into the industry, which, let's be honest, the inventory has been a problem in the industry for a couple of years. And I think that this is actually the window that I see, or the opportunity I see, is that we could actually hit some crazy inventory levels come to 2021 that can really boost this energy. And I think the other thing I'd say is, if you take a snapshot of the transactions over the last several years, we've really always been around 5.5 million transactions in this industry. We're really only going to dip to maybe 5.1, 5.2, and you start to look at this, and you can easily see we might get to 6 million transactions next year. I think if you're an agent, that's pretty darn exciting, right? Because not only are home values holding steady, which we are seeing that there's no dip in home values, so home values holding steady. Now you could actually, if you realistically say, look, I want to increase my transactions 30% next year, that is realistic, right? That's not far-fetched. Of course, you have to take a snapshot of your business and decide like what you're missing to get there and put yourself in the position. But I mean, I think the consumers are giving us the indicator that they're back, and real estate right now is a hot topic.
Well, and I mean, just telling, calling, because I know a lot of you guys on the call have been doing this. You've been calling your clients. You could call them next week and say, hey, I was just on a webinar on Friday, and I just saw that, home demand is up higher than it was long before we started this. And it's as high, if not higher than it was last year at this time. Like, just take this chart and you could probably do business, right? There's great news here. And then combine that with the mortgage rates that are so low, and there's a lot of really good positive things happening. It's sometimes hard because I think if we're all so tired of that word COVID, right? And I do think some consumers think that real estate has just stopped dead in its tracks, and that's clearly not the case, right? So, it's time to get out there, and and this chart to me is like the culmination of what we've been talking about in coffee chats for the last 6 weeks. Is the reason we put these together was to say, while you're in that little bit of a dip, right, that March, early April timeframe, this is the time to start thinking about your business differently, because it will come back. And so I'd love to ask the audience, what have you got, or how many of you, since this COVID thing came into play, have thought about your business differently, or are starting to try something different? Like, are things like coffee chats and all the other great, free education that's out there, has it inspired you guys to do something differently? I'd love to hear the answer to that, because now we're seeing that what we all hoped was going to happen is happening. And hopefully you guys have done some things and are going to continue to do some things to grab your unfair share of this new boom that we're seeing. So let me know if you're doing some new stuff. Let's see. TZ says it is positive chart, but the question is how to convince sellers to allow showings and buyers and feel safe. Well, that's a good question. We've talked a lot about virtual open houses. What would you say in answer to that one, Jack?
I mean, I think as we start to get on the other side of COVID, obviously things are going to relax a little bit. We're even starting to see that a little bit. I'm in San Diego, and we're starting to see that relax a little bit. But I think the other thing that's been interesting through this is that how agents and how the industry has really attached itself more to technology. So it's not crazy to think that some of the things that we've had to adopt during COVID probably don't go away, and so some of these virtual tours and stuff are probably real, and they're going to stick around. And so my question to all the agents on the call today is, as you think about your business and you think about technology, what are some of the tools that you want to adopt over the next 3 months? Because I just think it's safe to say, like, one thing about consumers is we're really fascinating, because usually when we go through stuff like this, we never go backwards. And so all the things that we've learned as a consumer and adopted, which means the way we shop, the way we do things, typically we don't go backwards, right? We move forward with those things. And so you have to assume that some of the things that we were forced as agents to implement in our business, like technology, virtual tours, things like that, that's probably not going to go away. In fact, you have to figure out over the next 90 days, how do I put that in place if I want to take advantage of this big surge in real estate? And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Now, sure, things are going to get relaxed a little bit, but I think we learn as consumers that we don't necessarily have to go to every open house anymore. Like, it's a very interesting thing that goes through our mind, and we teach ourselves, we can do things different. And so as an agent, are you constantly adapting? Are you constantly moving forward as fast as the consumer is moving forward, because that's the real key, right? The consumer really drives what we do, and you've got to be able and be able to move very quick and adapt very quick. And I think technology, I've said this for 10 years now, but more than ever, technology is going to be probably your biggest business partner moving forward the next 24 months, right? And the things that you implement in your business are going to be the things that really elevate your business and set your brand apart from other agents in your market.
Exactly. So Dennis said that he liked the virtual tour as the first phase, but buyers in New York and upstate want to physically go. I mean, I don't think that physical tours are probably ever going to go away completely, obviously, but we've talked a lot about so like the virtual open house concept. So let's say that there's, I'm just beginning my search as a consumer and there's 30 houses I'm interested in. Well, wouldn't it be great if I'd go to, 30 of those virtual tour open house, online things. And then as the agents, I only have to show them to the 2 or 3 they really like. Wouldn't I save myself time and energy? And you still give them the houses they want, but they've been able to eliminate a lot of other stuff. And I'm hearing some agents actually go on their live open houses with their client, which is interesting. So then they kind of like text back and forth as it's being talked about, and they say, oh, I love that, love that kitchen, hate that bathroom, whatever. But it's helping the agent kind of do what they would have done if they walked through the house without, again, having to take them through all of those different places. So it's interesting. And Dennis says, both buyers and sellers are still very concerned about their health. I mean, of course, I shouldn't say never, but I think there is going to be, I hate this word, the new normal. I'm over it already. But I do think we're all going to be more sensitized to things that we may never have been sensitized to before.
Yeah, and I think it's good to point out, like Dennis makes a good point. So this chart right here is not saying that June we're going to hit record breaking and then all this is going to explode in June and July. I think this is showing that there is some energy building behind the scenes. So I think it's very easy for us as agents and who are very close to this business to lose sight of that, right? That because we're dealing with the here and now. Agents are dealing with the here and now right now, and so it's hard to kind of understand. So I think this is a good slide for you to take a step back and say, what's happening behind the scenes that I can't see daily? And I think the good news for the agent is, wow, there's a lot of energy building up behind the scenes that at some point, my best guess and my best educated guess would be at the tail end of Q3, really Q4, and really kicking off Q1 of 2021. That's where you're going to start to see this explosion. It's not going to happen in June and July. Like we're still it's still going to be a struggle as we navigate through these uncharted times. But what is good to see is this energy building up behind the scenes, because it lets us know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. The glass half full now. Now, as an agent, what you have to be thinking about is, how do I put myself in a position that when it does explode, I can take advantage of that? And it's not just weathering the storm and I'm going to get through this. It's no, like, how am I going to come through this and take market share and grow my business 20%? And come 2021, my business is going to look different because I put myself in a position to do that. I think this should give you the confidence that it's there, that it's happening, that things are building behind the scenes, and we're going to have to still get through the uncharted times right now, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, and there's a lot of chatter in the box about talking about the value of virtual tours. So the idea that I think we're real estate's kind of like shelter at home, right? There's stages, and I think that's kind of attitudinally there's stages too, right? If we've been told for the last 8 weeks that if you breathe on someone, you're going to die or whatever, all the terrible things we hear every day, it's going to scare all of us, right? But there are things you can do in the interim to continue to be a partner with your client, right? And whenever, even if there isn't an explosion, right? Who knows how the trend will play out? The idea that you've stayed with them, that you've given them the tools they need to be comfortable at that moment. So if they still need to be more virtual than not, you're giving them all of that. And then it's gradually as they get comfortable and as the market is comfortable and that you're allowed to do things, we're there with them through every evolution of this, I guess, right? Would you agree with that, Jack? Like, we just stay with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great point, because I think now more than ever is how are you servicing and providing that very personalized experience for all your clients right now? How are you that support tool? Like one of the things I tell my staff in every single all hands meeting every week is I'm saying that same thing, but for us, we have to, our partners are the agents, and how do we provide that same experience, and how do we support them through this, and how do we become their partner through these tough times to help them navigate so they can be on the other side. And so I think it's the agent, you're doing that as well, but your audience is the consumer. And so, I think you have to be there. And again, what shows up throughout all of that is the branding. Like your branding is at the end of the day, that's really what's going to stand out if you do those things.
Right. Okay, got it. All right, let's go to the next slide.
So that we kind of touched on this a little bit. Just how are you going to ride the wave, knowing that behind the scenes there's so much energy building up in this industry. I look at the agents, and some agents are probably thinking, how do I just weather the storm? I want to challenge everybody on today's coffee chat to think a little bit different, and that is not only weather the storm, but how do you take advantage of this opportunity and use this as a way to take more market share. So think about your business, and this is what I love about real estate and agents is every single business is different. There are agents on here that only sell 3 or 4 homes a year, and there's agents on here that probably sell 100 homes a year. And I think you take a snapshot, take a step back, take a snapshot of your business today and say, how do I want to get the extra 30%? How do I want to grow my business 30%? And what am I missing? And this is a great way to kind of identify the things that you're missing in your business right now. Use this next 90 days to implement those things, those tools, whether it's lead generation, lead engagement, virtual tours, technology, whatever that is. Figure out the top 4 things you think you're missing to get you to that next level. Now's the time you should be focused on learning about those things and picking the right one for your business, right? There's no shortage in tools in this industry for sure. And I think all the tools are great. I think what really sets different tools apart is how your business is set up, and do those tools, are those tools a better fit for your business or not? And I think that's where, as an agent, you have to kind of look and kind of play that out. And so when I say ride the wave, what is this going to look like for you in the next 90 days? Because everything you do right now is going to pay off 90 days from now, right? Exactly. Every decision we make as an agent pays off 90 days from now. So how are you going to ride that wave throughout this?
So Dennis makes a good point. He said, after we passed the worst of COVID, then we're back to extremely low inventory, which was driving buyers nuts even before COVID. So, if that's true in your market, and it's true in many, many markets, then, yep. That's one of the things that I would frame around and say, okay, what can I do to get more listings, right? How can I become more of a seller's agent than a buyer's agent at this point? And there's a lot of tools, and we'll talk briefly. Zurple, we're not going to talk a lot about the product specifically, but they have some great ideas about this. The other thing I would say, and this is just basic bottom line human nature, if technology has been one of those things, and let's face it, we all are like this at some level, maybe not you, Jack, because you're like running 100 technology companies, but most of us, it's like, oh, so much work, oh, do I really want to go through that training? Oh, I feel dumb when they say a word and I don't know what the heck it means, right? Like, we got to get through that. One of the things that I love that I've seen in COVID for a variety of different types of companies, even the federal government, which is amazing, many of us had very deliberate decision-making processes. Some would call them maybe not as nimble as they could have been decision-making processes, whether that be a big company or an individual, right? It's like, oh, I'm too busy, I'll deal with that later. Oh, I don't know, do I really need that stuff? Or, oh, does the really MLS do anything for me other than what they do? I don't know, right? We've all had that kind of, especially when times are good, you kind of like, I don't need any of that new stuff. But what I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen this too in your own company, Jack, is people are willing to just make a decision, jump in and make it happen. Yep. Not worrying about the long-term implications, just saying, my gut's telling me, and let's face it, if you're in real estate and you're successful, you have a good gut, because you wouldn't make it as a salesperson if you didn't, right?
Yeah.
Trust your gut. Your gut's telling you, I got to go find more listings. Trust your gut, and then, reach out. I mean, call me, call Jack. There's a million people that'll give you suggestions, right? That's why I've done this copycat thing, is to give you ideas, right? But jump in and try some stuff. There's a bunch of good deals out there right now too from technology, so it's a really good time to try stuff. But
Yeah.
don't be afraid to say, I've never done it before. This is how the market always was. And I'm just not going to get there, so I'm just going to give up. Don't be afraid to not know all the answers, because guess what? That's what training is for, right? I mean, Jack, I'm sure if someone calls your company and says, I think I need more of this, I'm not really sure, can you walk me through the whole process? I'm sure your people will talk to them about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have dedicated people that do that. And, you know, I think for us, one of the things I've learned coming through COVID is, you know, even a technology company like us, we have to be able to quickly pivot and adapt. And I think one thing that we've realized is that agents need more support and more coaching right now. So we've quickly pivoted that, and we have dedicated people that will do that. You know, at Zurple, that will definitely coach our agents. But I think the other thing that I'll say, because you bring up some great points, is this is the time to kind of dive in and do that, but also commit, right? Like don't just jump in and kind of have one foot in, one foot out. You know, I think what separates a lot of tools in the business is they're just not used. And I think if you decide to go with a tool, then commit to that tool and really give it everything you have for 12 months, and you will see a difference. Like, you know, there's a lot of great tools in this industry, and I think that the biggest mistake is they're probably just not utilized enough or the right way. And then, you know, and that leads to, you know, agents being a little bit, you know, kind of not getting the results, and then they lose confidence in it. And I think it's more about, let's really, if you're going to go with something, let's dive all in and be very, very committed and give this, and let's map it, right? I think that working with agents on how to get the best ROI out of their tools is a huge fundamental that most companies probably overlook. But I think it's the biggest thing, because as an agent, you implement and you have so many different things running through your business daily. If you're not getting the ROI from those tools, it's going to be a time suck, right? Like, our time is probably the biggest money suck there is, right? Because our time is so valuable. And so having the right tools that you can put your time and energy in, and knowing that you're getting the ROI, like, that's a very good feeling when you go to bed at night, knowing that, yeah, I mean, I feel good about this. It's working. I can see it working. I feel it working. And so I think, like, from an agent standpoint, identify, like, again, if you want to ride this wave and you want to be on the other side, identify the tools that are missing in your business, or the things that are missing in your business, and go out, seek those things, but go all in, right? You've got to go all in. And if you go all in, you will see the results. I have the luxury of talking to a massive amount of agents and clients, and I see the results. So it's easy for me to say that. And so I guess as an agent, there's a little bit apprehensive, but know and trust experts in this industry that, you know, no expert in this industry will tell you, yeah, if you go all in, you might see results. No one's going to say that, right? All the experts are going to say, when you go all in and you commit to something, you're going to see the results. It happens.
Well, and you got to go in on your own business too, right? First thing is you got to commit that my business is, you can't let, you know, it's like failure is not an option. Remember from the Apollo days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Failure is not an option. That's number one. I'm not going to fail, period, the end. And then what am I going to do? And to your point, you know, don't try 22 things at once, right? Try one or two, go deep and get focused. And remember, you've got people around that love and care about you right now. You've got your broker who's probably got tools that you may not have tried. You've got your MLS that have tools. You've got folks like Jack with Zurple and so many of the other tools you've seen on the show. Try one, try two. Just like I said, just push a button. Just try something, but
Yeah.
go deep on it. I totally agree with you. If you gloss around it, you say, oh, I'll try it sort of, and I'll spend 10 minutes a day on it. It's just like anything. Whatever you focus on, you will get. Right? Tony Robbins, #1. If you don't do it, you're not going to win. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. We got a little off on there. Let's keep going on. You got some other great messages that we want to make sure people hear.
Yeah, this is a fun slide, because I think that you know, as consumers, we are very, very spoiled. You know, if I asked your entire audience, Marilyn, how many of them have been on Facebook already 5 times today, right? I'm guessing I'm going to see a lot of hands raised, and the truth is that we get sucked into this personalized experience because it's at our fingertips, right? Like we as consumers personally put Blockbuster out of business. We personally put Toys R Us out of business. A lot of these department stores are going out of business, and we personally are responsible for that. And the reason why is because it's easier for us to go to an Amazon, a Netflix, a Facebook, right? My Netflix looks very different than your Netflix, and my Facebook feed is very different than your Facebook feed. And it's constantly personalized to me as the consumer. I only get things that I want to see based on my behavior. I bring this up because as an agent, it is now time for you to move into that world. It is time for you to say, okay, I need to provide that same type of experience to my consumers, because we as consumers, we think and we miss out on the opportunity that our audience that we're trying to go after is us. We're the same audience that we're trying to go after, and we're all consumers. Think about your consumers. Think about how much time is being spent on social media right now. And every time they're on social media right now, they're getting this personalized experience. So as an agent, how do you do that? How do you provide that personal experience for every single consumer that comes in contact with you? And I think where agents are very strong right now is that if I put a consumer one-on-one with an agent, I have no doubt that they're going to kick butt at providing a really, really nice consumer experience. Where we miss it is, what if that consumer just happens to go to your website? Are they going to get that really personalized experience as much as they were going to work with you one-on-one? Probably not, right? And so we need to like take a step back and say, at every aspect a consumer can meet me, how am I personalizing that experience? And that becomes more relevant content, right? The reason why we get sucked into Facebook and Netflix is because relevant content is constantly at our fingertips. So as an agent, how do you provide relevant content for every consumer that you come in contact with? You know, Marilyn, I was telling you kind of the Zillow experience, right? And you can't deny, love or hate Zillow, you can't deny the amount of consumers that go there, and it's because it is such a clean, engaging experience for a consumer. So I challenge every agent to say, well, then go create your own Zillow experience. Go create your own little Zillow experience.
Yeah, Dennis just brought up a really good point, and I think it feeds into exactly what you're talking about. Where we'll jump to a slide, Dennis, I think will maybe help you. He said, my challenge is that my sphere of influence is used up, right? So there's a certain number of people we all have, and of course, hopefully some of those are friends and family and colleagues and people that have become friends through real estate. But if you've been doing what you should have been doing for the last several weeks, you've talked to all of them at least once, if not more, right? And you're going to find out, this is great. Hopefully you know where they all are in terms of their thinking, at least for the short term, right? So how do you find new opportunities? I think you've got some great suggestions. I'm going to jump to the next slide. Maybe you can share that with Dennis and with everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
good point.
Yeah, I think, you know, how do you find new ones? But also, Dennis, like I'll go back a minute, because I think that your sphere of influence, yes, but if I was to ask you, like, are you comfortable that your entire sphere of influence, every friend, every member of your family, if they want to look at a listing that's in their market, do you think they're using your website or are they using Zillow? If they're using Zillow, that's a problem. You have to fix that, right? So what I'm saying is, your sphere of influence alone, you've got to make sure that they're going to your store. Provide your own Zillow experience so they never go to Zillow, because the problem with Zillow is they're meeting all these other agents, and that's competing with you, right? And so yes, we have to generate more leads. That's just a fact. We have to get in front of new people. But also, once you're doing that, so whether it's new leads or whether it's your sphere of influence and past leads and leads you haven't converted, I think there's 4 things you have to focus on to drive more engagement with today's consumer, and that is, number 1, speed to lead. What drives me nuts is, in this business, right? NAR has this stat that says the average agent takes 8 hours to respond to a new lead. I mean, here's the problem: we have no patience as a consumer. This is why we go to 8 to 10 different websites before we actually land on one. It's because we don't have patience for 8 hours. We don't. So, you know, I would challenge everyone on this call: when you generate a lead, whether it's at noon or whether it's at 4 in the morning, what does that engagement level look like in your business to that consumer? And no, I don't expect you to sit in front of your computer for 24 hours and just respond to leads. But this is where technology becomes your partner, right? And having the right technology can provide this experience no matter what time that consumer comes into contact with you. And the next is lead insight. So I call it lead intelligence. There are behavior triggers that consumers provide us all the time that are kind of windows of opportunity for us to have better conversations. And I think that if you're missing those in your business, meaning, you know, if I can see exactly what that consumer is looking for, understand what relevant content is, which is the next piece, then that changes my entire conversation, right? Imagine calling my, you know, I think there's a ton of phone calls that happen today that's, hi, and thanks for becoming a lead. Yeah, so I think the lead insight gives you relevant content that you can actually, like, imagine the conversation, how it changes if you had relevant content on every single phone call, email, text message, right? It becomes a little different than a sales call, which none of us as consumers are into anymore. We're all about the, you know, think about the Netflix emails that we all get, especially right now. And it says, hey, we just unlocked this show that we think that you like. And how does Netflix know that? Because behavior triggers. So imagine you having those same tools and sending those type of emails. You know, notice you were looking at 4-bedroom homes. Here's 2 other 4-bedroom homes in the same zip code that you didn't have a chance to look at. Let me know if you have any questions. And in that email, there's a link, and that link drives them back to your website. And in that website, you're providing this mini Zillow experience, right? And that's how you can engage your sphere of influence. That's how you can engage new leads. And all of a sudden now, the branding thing, which will never go away in this business, right? Branding is always going to be very, very important in real estate. But if you do these three things really well, right? Speed to lead, lead insight, and relevant content, your branding will take care of itself because you're going to stand out as a neighborhood expert. So if you want to take more market share over the next 90 days, how are you really putting yourself in a position to be a neighborhood expert?
Exactly. And Dennis, he made a good point that he said that, so he has been a resource to his sphere because you can tell he's been here, I think, every day too, Dennis, right? Even with me, I'm sure a lot of other training, not just this one. They have recognized he's a go-to guy. So when they have a question about real estate, they're calling him, right? So he's halfway home. He's already got people that trust and believe in him. But maybe, Dennis, what you could do, and I love your perspective on this, Jack, is get even more proactive about what you're pushing to them, right? So they're coming to you, which is awesome. That means they trust you and love you, right? But, you know, if we all know there's not enough sellers out there, right? You know, is some of the relevant content we should think about things that are educating potential sellers about why now is a good time to sell, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, think about, you know, I don't know, Dennis, if you're utilizing social media a lot right now with, you know, I think the four big ones are Facebook, YouTube videos are very popular, Twitter's very popular, LinkedIn, Instagram, right? How are you using that? And it can't be, I think the biggest mistake agents make at times is they just post their listings on social media. But this is a great time to educate first-time home buyers. It's a great time to educate sellers. One of the things that I would be posting on my social media and in my sphere of influence to all the people that have a house is that there's this energy building and consumers are starting to search for real estate. And have you thought about the value of your home and what that looks like? You know, I think there's a, you know, if sellers are sitting in their house and they knew that the buildup that was happening with consumers right now, you know, would that put them in a different position to start thinking about maybe upgrading their own house, or maybe that means they want to downsize their house, but putting their house on the market. So I do think at times we can control inventory. Obviously, sometimes it's out of our control, but I think we do have influence on sellers in our industry, and we can influence sellers based on educating. Like, we know what's going on with the market better than the sellers do. How do we get that? How do we become this expert to provide that content to sellers that might be able to influence them to put their house up for sale and kind of increase the inventory?
And, you know, this is an idea that just struck me as you were talking, Jack, but, you know, and I'd love to hear from the audience too. It's kind of interesting to think, what if, kind of like a testimonial, but not really, a testimonial about why to sell, not a testimonial about you as an agent. So someone that just went through the sales process and talk about what it was like, how did it work? Did you get your full value? Because again, I think people are concerned right now that they won't get full value. They're getting more than full value from what I hear in a lot of markets.
Yeah.
But almost like let a seller who just finished the process or who's in the middle of it talk to other potential sellers. So it's not about you, but of course you brand it as you, so comes back to you. But you let them hear from fellow consumers about the fact it really is okay. Have you guys tried anything like that? It's kind of an interesting thought.
We haven't. I mean, we do tell, we do tell most of our agents that, testimonials are a powerful part of our business because of branding, and even at Zurple and the other companies that I run, we do believe testimonials are powerful. I think it's, I think there is this fear with sellers that they're not going to get maximum value right now because of COVID, probably right now, strictly because of COVID. So I think as an agent, putting some education out there, maybe it's a testimonial, maybe it's just some interesting facts that we haven't seen a dip in home prices at all, which is, really a fantastic sign that home prices haven't dipped. But I also think, like, at times addressing the elephant in the room, and that is, addressing the difference between iBuy and using an agent. I think I think what most consumers don't understand is iBuy, maybe that's a great experience for you as a consumer, but the numbers don't lie, and the numbers are coming back that consumers are getting less value for their home. Do consumers know that? As an agent, right, your value is, like, if you just presented the facts to me, the value of using an agent, there's no consumer that would ever use iBuy, seeing those numbers. So I think it's just, I think in times we get stuck in our world that, well, we've got to get our listings out there, and I think that, look, I think you do have to advertise your listings, but I also think that that's not just being a neighborhood expert, that's being a real estate agent. How do you also do the real estate, being the neighborhood expert? And that is giving insight into the industry that we have that consumers don't have. Most consumers don't have the insight that we have at our fingertips. How do we surface that out there, right? How do we continue to feed that out there to our consumers? And so, like Dennis, they're coming to you because they feel like you're the expert. Great. How do you get that now? How do you do that outside just your sphere of influence? Because that's powerful. That could change your business by 20%, right? You've done a great job with your sphere of influence. Now, how do you do that with another 40 or 50 people a month? Imagine that impact, right? That's huge.
It is so huge. I totally agree. It's awesome. Okay, let's just give you a quick overview of what Zurple does. Just as one example of one of the things you might want to look at trying and maybe take advantage of their special offer as well. So just give us a 2-minute overview. What is Zurple and how does it help agents?
Sure. Zurple's a very focused lead engagement platform. So, the picture you have on the screen, right? We're going to create a very consumer focused website for you that provides this consumer experience that I've talked about all morning, right? And so if you think about how do you compete with all these other things out there, whether it's iBuy and all these third party, you've got to have a very consumer focused website that I call your online store, because that's essentially where people are meeting you. How do you provide this really kick butt experience for people? And so we do that for you, as well as having the back end tools. So think about this personalized experience and having all this relevant content. That's what the Zurple system does. And so it's constantly reading consumer behavior triggers, and it's responding on behalf of you as the agent. So via text, via emails, engagement. And so what we're seeing is a 50% open rate on average and a 17% reply rate on average. And the reason why is because it's only focused on relevant content. And so I always think agents don't have time to sit in front of their computer, right? There's things that you have to be doing. And sometimes that's showing buyers homes or doing listing presentations. You have to have some type of marketing assistance in your business that's going to allow you to nurture more consumers to the point that they want to sit in that car with you, right? Or they want to sit on these virtual tours with you, and they want listing presentations. So the Zurple system is going to do that. The Zurple system really is going to act as this virtual marketing assistant and really help you nurture all these leads. So like Dennis, one of the biggest questions Dennis asked was, Well, how do I do this with people that don't know me? This is how you do that, right? This is how you do that. You provide them a very good consumer experience, and we help you broadcast that out so new consumers that don't know you today find you, and then you have this system that it will help you engage with them on a very high relevant level. And so then overall, what you're left with is all these leads that we have trouble nurturing. All of a sudden now we have this ability to nurture them at a very high rate and still focus on these one-on-one conversations that definitely move our business.
No, that's amazing. So in effect, not to use but it's kind of what you said earlier. You're sort of serving up like Netflix does, unique content. Just like, so if I come in and I say I want a second home and I want to buy in Florida, the content I'm going to receive versus someone that's a first-time home buyer that just still has college debt that's in your local town is going to get a completely different kind of message.
Yeah.
That's going to resonate when that's like 50% open rate is really high. And
Yeah.
the 17% click-through rate is awesome too. I mean, those are way, way, way higher than what, sort of a generic, here's what's going on in the market kind of thing is going to get from you. You're never going to get that kind of engagement. But I love that.
Yeah.
I wish you could
it's
do
like
this for
you
my
said.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you said, Marilyn. It's kind of like the same approach as Netflix is doing, right? All their emails they send to us as consumers are very, very relevant. And I think it's the same way. Like, the email that goes out to a consumer that's looking at a 4-bedroom house versus a 1-bedroom condo is different. You have to assume, because of those behaviors and because of that insight, you have to assume a 4-bedroom house, maybe there's a family involved, maybe kids. So school information all of a sudden becomes very vital. That should be part of the messaging, right? It's also relevant to different demographics and what consumers are looking at and relevant content, that it really puts the agent in this position of being a neighborhood expert.
But you're helping them figure out what those messages should be, because it's one thing to say I should send relevant content. It's another thing to know what that actually means, right? So you guys have already done all the hard work, basically. So an agent can just tap in and
it does it for them.
Right. We call it edutizing, right? So you're educating them about what matters to them, but at the same time, you're advertising your own brand and why they should work with you. So that's awesome. Well, this has been.
So if you want
really
more,
good.
if you want more information, you could go to Zurple.com and that's our website, and you can definitely on there. There's a place where you can get more information. I know right now for agents that are coming aboard because of COVID and really we're focusing on how do we become the best partner and really, get you on the other side of this to where you're growing your business. We're offering 50% off for the first 2 months for anyone that signs up.
So this is a great example of, if you're going to jump in and you think this one is the kind of thing that would make, like for you, Dennis, as an example, if you're looking to broaden your reach in effect, right? Something like this might be that one. You try and do it now while you're getting 50% off. Why not, right? We all like deals. That's who we are. It's humanity, especially if we can't shop in stores, we got to get it somewhere. Okay, well, let me just remind us about who we've got coming up. So we're taking Monday off. I hope all of you do too for Memorial Day. You all deserve it. We've all been working our butts off. So we've got Brandon Wise from the CEO of Wise Agent, and he does a client relationship management system that's awesome. He's gonna kind of build on the message as Jack has, is like, this is the time to get your act together, right? As it's before it starts to explode. And then on Wednesday, we've got Brian Bowles from Transactly. He's going to talk to us about how to leverage virtual assistants and how, just talk in general about this whole concept of virtual, because I think a lot of this is going to hang along with us. I don't think we're going to see virtual go away anytime soon.
No.
So yeah, check in on those. And I think we probably have the links to those if you want to register for those, grab them there. And then also wanted to invite any of you that like these but don't want to deal with registering them every day. Just send me an email in the question right now, or send it to me at marilyn@retechnology.com, and we'll register you automatically so you can take advantage of these whenever they make sense. And another way to be able to make sure that you don't miss them is to go to our YouTube channel at RE Technology Inc. and click on the subscribe button, and then make sure that little blue bell next to it, because I frankly never knew what that was until recently. Click on that thing, and that every time we publish anything, you'll be notified of all coffee chats and recordings. So again, if you want to watch them at your leisure or just delete them, either way, but at least you don't miss them, right? And hopefully many of you on the call do already have a subscription to RE Technology through your local MLS. That's a $200 product that your MLSs are providing to you regularly, which is awesome. But if not, go to retechnology.com and click on the Create Account, which is up in the top right-hand side under the search bar, and then click the monthly option, and we will give you 3-month subscription as well. So we want you to take advantage of all these great things we're hearing from Jack and so many of our other great guests that we've have on. So we appreciate all of you guys sticking with us. I hope this has been helpful for you as we all try to ride out this thing. But want to hope everybody has a great Memorial Day. Jack, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I love these type of conversations. So anytime, love doing this.
Don't say that. I'm going to bring you back.
Perfect.
Okay, everybody, have a great weekend, and we will see you on the other side on Tuesday. I hope you do a lot of business over the weekend. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.